Welcome to the best of the Chris Vernon Show, presented by Direct Auto Insurance from the American Home Shield Studio inside FedEx Forum. To watch the live show daily at noon or on demand, head over to grindcitymedia.com or Grind City Media on YouTube. Now, let's take a look back at some of the best moments of the week.
Tony Allen's in the house. Andy's got one of the new Grizzlies Believe Memphis masks. Devin, just grab that real quick. The microphone. Where are these going to be? You did the post earlier. We got to tell people where they can get these. These are going to be free, right?
And you just killed the camera too.
They're gonna. Oh, he did.
Yeah.
These are going to be free. It's okay. These are going to be free. These Believe Memphis Grizzlies masks. Holy crap. He broke the microphone. The microphone mangler. The microphone mangler.
This is Kelsey's fault.
The microphone mangler.
True. Kelsey started.
Look at this, too. It's got a friggin' American flag on it. Made in America. Yeah. Good.
So, these masks, the Grizzlies MVPs will pick up their complimentary Grizzlies face masks from 11 to 1 starting Thursday, June 25th at the Forum. Then the fans who don't get one, who are not season ticket holders, can pick up their complimentary Grizz face masks beginning June 29th from one of the partners below Bass Pro Shops, Mid Shop Ford dealers, Pinnacle, and the Grizz Den.
Yeah, all the Pinnacle spots. Yeah, Bass Pro Shop, AutoNation Ford.
Oh, okay.
I know both AutoNation Ford locations.
Look at this, Believe Memphis. Now, Roser put his on and said it didn't fit well over his big nose. Tony put his...
I don't think I have a big nose.
Tony put his on
ain't got a chance.
And realized how he's got long face.
No, I got...
You got a long face.
No, I got the... y'all gave me the Euro mask.
No.
It's the
Look,
Euro mask.
Mine fits perfectly because I have the facial features of...
A 12-year-old?
Man as God intended. I don't have some big-ass nose like you.
No,
I don't have some long-ass face like Tony Allen.
So, no, listen.
How does yours fit?
Listen, son.
Devin's fits perfect also. We have male. We are the pinnacle of
look,
male in God's eyes.
No, it probably is tight on his face too, but he wears tight clothes a lot.
No.
So I mean, it doesn't bother him.
He says he's comfortable in a tight face mask because of his tight clothes. What's your problem with yours?
I believe in Memphis. Like I told you, I just believe this should be a little bigger.
I just believe this should be a little bigger.
That's all.
I told you when you came in. Now I'm feeling real swaggy because that the Jesus Shuttlesworth shirt Tony has on. I've got the hoodie version that I got, and it is one of the first times I ever met T. Morant, John Morant's dad. Mm-hmm. He was in the stands. I was actually at a preseason game with my son, and he ran up to me. He's like, "Man, I love that hoodie." And I had known the background. So T and Ray Allen were high school teammates. They grew up together and played. And T has long said he constantly looked at the Allen family as they were raising a professional athlete as to learn from example, like, hey, because Ray Allen kept his nose out of trouble, and family first
A1,
guy.
A1,
yeah.
A1.
Right. And so,
Bro.
and I think you see a lot of the stuff that goes on. I think you see a lot of the stuff that goes on with Ja and his family. That's stuff that came directly from T watching the Allens and raising a star athlete. And sure enough, I mean, look, I think we all know Ja's got unbelievable
Upside
family support too. You know what I mean? They're all here for him. All right, we have had some stories that have come out, and I'm interested in getting your take on this. You want this Pepsi, or you want to Code Red?
I was definitely trying
He's
to get
thirsty. My man's
something
thirsty.
to drink, man. Let me get something to sip on. Give me some ice. You know what I'm saying? Make me feel welcome me back, bro.
Welcome you back? What are you talking
I
about?
feel like I've been gone forever.
It was a week ago today.
I miss you guys.
I
miss you guys.
It's every Tuesday.
I missed you too, Tony.
This guy's been trapped in his house with 2 kids.
Yeah,
This is the only reason he still does the show, so he can leave. He doesn't want to be here. He just wants to get out of the house.
I mean,
Dada, can we do this? Dada, can we do that?
You're the same way too, though.
Oh,
Right.
bro. I've been working all through the quarantine.
I know.
They said, Chris, we still want to do the show. I said, cool.
Get me out of the house for a few hours.
You know what I watched last night? Home Alone.
That's a great movie.
We didn't get done with it, so I woke up this morning. I woke up at 7 o'clock this morning, walked in, did not even have a chance to get my coffee. She goes, Daddy, let's finish Home Alone.
I can't front. That's a movie I could watch every day.
It holds up.
Yeah, I like that movie.
It 100% holds up.
100% holds
So
up.
here's the thing. I told her there's a Home Alone 2. I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, Lost in New York.
Good?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Good.
I can if I sat down and watched it.
No, I don't need you to.
No, I could.
Yeah, I remember too.
I
I
could
think I
recite
remember
every
too.
line.
You remember 2?
They was in a like a little toy store, I believe.
Yeah.
FAO Schwartz.
Duncan's Toy Chest.
Oh.
That's what. Yeah.
Oh, that's what they called it in the movie?
Duncan's Toy Chest.
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so here, we got NBA news. Number 1, breaking news. There is at least, according to Adrian Wojnarowski, one NBA playoff team in the Western Conference that has 4 players with coronavirus. We don't know who yet. We don't know who has it yet.
The Jazz.
They already had it.
Yeah.
It stands to reason, like, I mean, look, if you look at some of the teams, I don't know who is, I mean, you figure
Orlando.
they're just being so serious about it in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
No, that's not a Western Conference.
Oh, Western Conference. okay.
Texas teams, I think, would be apt. They've had pretty bad breakouts in Texas, and Texas has been open for a long
Yeah,
time, right?
yeah.
So you got those are places that have huge. Most of the huge cities have been dead ass serious about this, right? The New Yorks, the LAs, and whatnot. But then you would find like huge cities in other markets that haven't maybe taken it seriously. So Houston would obviously be in the mix for that. They're like the 5th biggest city in America. And Texas opened a long time ago. I don't want to say it's them. I'm just saying, like, when you're trying to think of who could this be, they're starting to test all these teams today, and so we're going to start getting word back. But 4's a lot, man. That's the only news we have so
Yeah.
far. 4's a lot.
Yeah.
You only got 15 guys on the roster,
Well,
right?
you saw. I mean,
Give me a little bit more so I can guess. Like,
We don't know.
is it like an all-star? Or is it like
We don't know yet.
well, it's Western Conference,
Yeah, Western Conference
and
playoff
it's a
team.
playoff team, so it's one of the top 8 seeds.
So that's what I said. The top 2
Yeah.
are in LA. They've been.
They've been tested. Like Lakers players already had it too, I think.
Yeah, did you see they were all saying the Lakers had been practicing at some rich dude's gym? Kind of sold them out.
the LA Gear guy?
Yep.
Oh. I was going to say LeBron's house.
No, JJ Redick, I think, said it on one of the podcasts.
Okay.
Like, oh, yeah.
mean,
I think all these teams have been doing that.
time
They
out.
all have.
that ain't nothing new. Dude, do that whatever. He been doing that ever since I was in Boston. I did it a few times. I was with the Grizzlies.
Yeah, right.
I think we worked out one time. We were with New Orleans
Over at his house.
over at his house.
He's got an
Every
unbelievable
every
court,
team
right?
I've been with, when we came to LA, if all the gyms was occupied or
Used his.
we just went over there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there is that dude with the house out there. Well, I don't know. I just thought biggest city in a state where you're hearing a lot from.
Yeah, Houston,
Is Houston.
Dallas.
Houston's the biggest city. Yeah,
Dallas,
right. Texas cities.
Yeah.
is where you've heard the most of it.
And
it could be the Grizzlies. We don't know.
It could be, yeah.
We don't know. I mean, who knows? I mean, it's not like
Yeah.
things have been great around here. It's not like the numbers are getting great.
No.
You know? And so here's just hoping, obviously. Look, I actually think it's better that guys tested positive today because now it gives you more time to figure it out, right? And how you want to handle this and how serious you kind of get from the beginning because they're coming in for the first time, right? They're coming in for the first time. Everybody's been off on their own. I bet there's going to be a lot of positives. A lot of guys that don't even know that they have it, right? So we had talked a lot about how guys might not go down there and play because of Corona, maybe because social justice initiatives and they feel like they want to be a part of that. And yet the first couple of guys that we have heard about not being there have been for different reasons. So the first, Davis Bertans, who had a breakout season, and the team has a long shot with the Wizards. They're probably not getting the 8 seed, but they got invited. He decides he's not going to play. because he's got a contract coming up. And so, and there's not a lot of teams in a lot of players in free agency, and he's never gotten a really big contract. So this is his chance. Somebody's going to overpay him. Same way, it just feels so Chandler-y to me, right? Like he's going to get a boatload of 6'10" guys with bad knees. I guess I just have some PTSD on the whole thing.
Yeah.
But
he had a major injury before?
He's had 2 ACLs.
Oh.
Yeah. So what do you think as a player, would you care if everybody's going back and a player looks out for himself and says, I got a contract coming up. I'm a free agent after this year. I am not going to go there with everything going on and risk injury when I got a contract coming up. Would you get mad at a guy, or have we changed so much that you would say, all right, I understand?
I mean,
what do you think?
I mean, for him, I wouldn't have came out like that. I mean, it's kind of selfish a little bit, but I mean, speak on the matter as at hand. You know what I mean? Like, you got the option not to play. You got the option. I mean, how much money that's left on his contract now?
Oh, I think it's like $500,000.
Oh, yeah.
That he's walking away from, right? And he stands to make tens of millions.
And which is going to secure health and wealth at the same time.
Generational wealth.
I would take advantage of that simply because of what's going on. And who's to say he not just really deep back in his mind saying, I'm scared to get the coronavirus. I don't want to play, period.
And it's also...
And that'll be fine, too.
Yeah.
And if he's standing up to try to get, the George Floyd movement,
Davis
empowered.
Bertans, I don't think that's...
I mean, whatever the case
I
may be,
understand.
I'm just saying whichever angle he went to
I don't think he's doing it in Latvia.
I mean, obviously, but I'm just saying if he had those angles to stand firm and his team could understand that, he got
This is one of those things where I look at it and I say...
He got 3 options, man.
Under other circumstances, you would be looked at as totally selfish and only looking out for yourself when you're part of a team. But under the circumstances we're in now, you can skip this for any reason and you're not going to catch
and that's what I'm trying to say. You could use either one, but I just thought he probably shouldn't have just came and said that. Like, it's kind of making them look selfish.
I mean,
that's
why he's not going.
That's how I see it.
Yeah.
But the killer part about that, like,
there's 14 other wizards that are going to have to go.
Exactly, and then I don't know, how would it look? I mean, it just make you wonder, how would it look if somebody else did it? Like, you know what I mean? That wasn't,
Up for a contract?
Up for a contract.
Well, we're having a couple. So Trevor Ariza, he's made his money.
Right. Are you doing it too?
No. He is in a custody battle. He's got a son. And basically,
12-year-old son.
Yeah, as it was outlined, and especially from all of us have now had friends that have gone through this before. I know you have, with guys that have had, some of these custody battles get very, very messy, right? And they get,
it's always messy,
they get pretty vindictive too. And so what I understood last night was with Ariza's situation, he was in a custody battle, and the mother's choice of granting a court-ordered 1-month visitation period during the league's quarantine of teams in Orlando left Ariza to choose those parenting responsibilities over competing. So he wasn't going to be able to do both. You know what I'm saying? I guess this custody battle got to the point where it was like, okay, this is when you're going to get your month with our son. So she said exactly at the time that they would be going, right?
Yeah, it's just.
And so then he has, and then it's like,
it's obvious.
And then because then he's going to say, I can't take it.
Obviously.
I can't take it, all right?
Obviously.
And so now he says, fine, I'm just not playing.
Obviously.
And I'm going to take the 12-year-old son. And so that, I mean, that's messy.
Yeah.
And that's one of those that is totally understandable for any father that is out there, right? And so his situation is different. Bertans is that's just flat. Selfish. Bro, I'm not gonna risk $70 million. Well, for you and me and for everybody else to call him selfish.
No, I'm saying.
I know.
Like, say, like, if I would have did it. Let's just go ahead. Let's just throw it out there. Like, let's just say if TA would have been like, man, I'm first team all defense, man. I ain't going to do that next year, man. Y'all good luck with sticking one of them dudes. I got to get my bag next year.
You had enough clout.
Relax. But I'm just telling you that would have looked a little different from the town. You see what I'm saying? But they ain't never won nothing down there. They looking for some pieces.
Yeah.
They praying for some pieces. They hoping the organization might be like, yeah, you might need to go and pipe down, but we see something. You get what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying.
So let's not be blind to that neither. Like he got away right now in a good time in doing it. But it's a lot going on. So, it could go under the radar right now.
100% it can go under the radar.
Yeah.
I think you could have gotten away with it.
Boy, they
You had me
killed
on
me.
you
They'd
had,
have
no,
killed me.
you had me on your side too.
No.
You said
I know all the beat writers. I heard them all.
You sat out the playoffs a couple times.
Bro, I didn't sit out. I was hurt, bro. And I told Nick Van Axel and Coach
Fishdale.
Fishdale.
blew me. Yeah, play the Mavericks.
Last game of the season.
Last game of the season.
You're still pissed about that.
He'll
I
always
never forget that.
Yeah.
I told Nick right before that, I said, bro, why am I playing today? I asked Nick Van Axel shooting around. I'm going through shooting around. I'm like, bro, why am I playing today? Man, you gonna need this, man, just to carry over going in the playoffs. Bro, we got 4 days until the next game. Why we? It blew me.
And instead, I had to watch Andrew Harrison and Wayne Selden.
did.
Well,
guard, and James Ennis guard Kawhi Leonard.
We watched
No,
Kawhi
but
Leonard
watch
score
this.
16
Watch this.
points in
No,
4
I'm telling
minutes
you.
on James Ennis.
Listen, this what the icing on the cake was. The next year, and I had been getting, teased about fighting through injuries and manning up, and because Mike Conley was doing it, right?
Yeah, right. It's hard when your point guard's got a broken face and playing.
Yeah, and all that. But it was other little knick-knack injuries he had too that he fought through. Is what I'm saying. And I would get those injuries, and they'll be like, "Come on, TA, what you doing? You gonna play today, right?" So the next year, right, they come up with this. What's the rest management? What is it called?
Load management.
Load management.
I said load management.
You were a forefather.
What you mean?
You're the forefather of load management. They just didn't call it that then.
Right. It was being a wuss back then. It was being a wuss back then. So now it's load management now.
You were way ahead of the curve on this. What if I said, actually, go back and everybody can go check the stats. It's Tony Allen is the real forefather of load management. Because he may just walk into the arena and be like, nah, not tonight.
This is my no, all the way false. But listen, I would be the kind of guy like, I ain't gonna front. This actually happened. I'm gonna just tell you what actually happened. So I think we had a span where we played like a Phoenix, a Denver, maybe 76ers at the time when they didn't have Embiid and them. Then it was like maybe Atlanta.
Yeah.
But then it was Cleveland.
Oh, that's the Jaeger game.
And then it was Cleveland. I set out like 5 games all the way until we went to play Cleveland. LeBron, Kyrie. So we get there. We wake up and shoot around. So I'm ready. I'm well rested.
I guess so. Hadn't played in a week and a half.
So look, I'm like, but I didn't look at the calendar. I'm like, yo, we play LeBron now.
I've got to be available for that.
I gotta be available for that, right? Man, I wake up that morning. Coach Yeager got the board. You know how they write the names and who guard who. He got everybody's name on there that's on the bench starred. Like all the bench players starting with me. I told him I'd be available, and I was just wondering, like, why did Coach do that? Till this day, you know what I mean? And we played.
He sat Mike, Mark, Zebo.
I want to say Tayshaun, everybody. Was Tayshaun with us then?
I don't remember.
We had Mario Chalmers then. So no.
He started.
He started. Yeah. Lance Stevenson. And I thought that was.
There's 8 guys.
Look, I think.
Right?
Yeah, I think that was the.
Yeah. I think the game was on a Monday night too. I want to say the game was on a Monday night. And then the game after that, y'all played Wednesday night, and I think it was on ESPN at Boston.
Yeah.
And that's the game, and we were right there against Boston. Like probably, I think we were winning the game when Chalmers
blew out his
Achilles,
joint.
and it changed
Yep,
everything.
That's what happened. That's them was the game before that. You're right. But
that
what
right?
I'm saying is, saying that story to tell you is, that was my load management at the time. You get what I'm saying? Yeager was like, "Oh, so you think you're gonna?
Oh, you're available tonight.
Oh, you? Oh, yeah. You okay? Well, hey, Zebo, Matt, you guys, y'all sit down. TA, you got LeBron those guys by yourself. You bad defensive playing mother. Come on, shut your mouth. And that's how he was thinking, I believe. But I'm looking at it now like back then that was great. I played maybe 5 more seasons, you give me like that. Serious.
If you played
With
one
load
every 5 games.
No, listen, this is how I do it. I would do it like if the team's record over 500, I play over 30 minutes.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Depending on
Nobody ever played you
teams.
30 minutes.
No, they had, trust me, nobody never did that, but
You remember?
it was times where they was forced to have to keep me in the game.
Yes. Fouls. What was the one playoff game that we watched? Oh, OJ. And he let OJ foul out in the game. It's a triple overtime game.
Yeah.
And OJ's going off. It was one of those replays we did. I mean, watching that back, he blamed Grievous forever. Dude, him letting OJ foul out of that game was, when you had to foul on purpose, was
He just
unbelievable.
OJ shouldn't have been in for the foul.
But then he had already gotten mad at you, but he had to put you back in because everybody had fouled.
Ain't no ducking TA, man. You can't duck TA, man. TA is forever.
All right, so Bertans isn't going. We found out that Ariza is not going. We had a couple other guys that obviously because of the injuries aren't going.
No, hold on. Back to the
yeah.
the custody thing with him.
Oh,
As far as
Ariza?
Ariza.
Yeah.
Of course he's gonna take advantage of that. You never know how spiteful those situations are.
Yep.
Obviously, it's a bitter situation where the other half of the situation is not being considerate and just taking advantage of the freedom.
He's
in
just
Orlando.
had 3 months off. You could have let him
Exactly.
be with the son any of those times.
Exactly. So with that being said, obviously he want to stand firm on taking advantage of that. And like you say, he made a lot of money.
Yep.
Maybe losing $1 million, he'll probably get it back in some other type of investment or whatever. But
He's a valuable piece for them too, though. I mean, he's good.
Yeah.
He's a good role player to have for the postseason.
And I believe with all this rest and this quarantine thing, he's for sure gonna be a big piece for a steal for somebody next year.
Maybe he's pretty old now.
Yeah, but what all you need him to do?
Ariza?
Yeah.
Knock down some threes, play
That's
some defense.
That's it. Token defense at this age.
Yeah.
No lockdown, nothing but
Yeah, he's a good role player.
Yeah.
You know,
solid role.
He
I
could
Know your
respect NBA
positioning
champion, man.
and yeah.
keep the ball moving.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Stand in the
Especially-
corner.
They got enough scorers on Portland.
Yeah.
But the killer part about it is how many other players is going to come out for whatever reasons and say they not going to
You have no idea.
And it's 2 things you could be scared of. Like, I don't feel comfortable with shaking hands, the sweat coming off of people.
I just think I think it's interesting that we've already had a couple of guys already, like that we've found out, and it's neither of the big things that everybody talked about. We haven't even gotten to the guys sitting out because they're scared of coronavirus or
Exactly.
because of social justice initiatives that they want to be a part of and they don't want to be playing at that time. Or Bertans is really the first contract guy, like of the guys that are going to be big free agents, and they say, I don't like. There's all this other stuff going on, and I'd be risking a lot of money by going and playing in this thing, and so I'll just sit it out because now I've kind of got this. People aren't going to kill you for sitting this out the way they normally would. You know what I mean? Because you could come up with 5 different reasons. I mean, hell, Ariza's is so off the radar. I never even heard of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you never heard of that. Where it's like a guy's having to sit out so that he doesn't, in the middle of a custody battle for a kid. I never heard of an athlete having to sit out for those kind of reasons. But here we are. We also have DeMarcus Cousins is one of the names that's out there of a guy that has not latched on to a team. Like, all of these guys became available this morning. So Joakim Noah re-signed with the Clippers. The Grizzlies are re-signing Anthony Tolliver this morning, who was on a 10-day when this stuff all came to pass. And then, in addition to that, you have DeMarcus Cousins' name was out there because we're really a year since his injury. And so it was like, well, geez, somebody could add him. There were like 4 or 5 teams interested, and Cousins, because obviously you guys played together in New Orleans. He said, I'm not signing with anybody. I'm not doing this. I'm not going to play the 8 games and then the playoffs. I'm just going to use this whole time to get ready, and I'll be back next season. And I'll sign with somebody for that. But I'm not going to sign with somebody for the rest of this. Because he could have really changed things. You know what I'm saying? If he is a semblance of himself. Guy's been through mega injuries.
Yeah, here's a guy, an all-star, who I believe was on his way to a Hall of Fame type season. The things he was doing in front of my face, I was seeing him like effortlessly get 20 points at half, 40 and 20. Some get riled up, back-to-back 35 and 20s. You know what I'm saying? Just putting up all type of just big-time numbers. And unfortunately, he was hit with the injury. But from him just being around him, he a real smooth guy. He real funny despite what everybody think of him. I thought, he listened to guys like myself, who've been around the block before. You know what I'm saying? He kind of gravitates to that.
And he's one of those guys, T.A., I think you would say this too. I'm always stunned by this. Everybody loves him much more off the court, than on the court. Playing with him, he's a difficult personality.
Yeah, and I was leading to that. Let's saying on the court, he's emotional. He loved the game so much. A lot of people might misunderstand him because, like, just what his passion, for the game. He wear it on his sleeve. So, I was definitely one of the guys who was excited in being around him, just watching him work alongside Anthony Davis. And I wish him nothing but the best to get back. That's my boy. I had a great time in that season with him. And like I said, it's an unfortunate situation. But going to this summer, just strengthening his legs, eating right, doing the right thing. He might want to come down some pounds, get the body like what's your boy name? Jokic. And Mark, slim down a little bit just to get one of those bodies, and I believe he'll be all right.
Yeah, when you speak of him being emotional, look, he was the first time I ever heard of DeMarcus Cousins. He grew up in Alabama. That's where he played high school basketball.
Right.
And Calipari was recruiting him here. He was coming to Memphis with John Wall and all those guys. That whole class was coming to Memphis. And one of the guys here that covers recruiting went down there and saw him. He got so mad in the middle of the game. This is in a high school game. He sat down on the court in the middle of the game. Sat down on the court, mad. And they were,
for what?
I think he was mad at the coach or mad at the ref. He just sat down in the middle of the court. He said, I've never seen that in my life. He said the kid just sat down. He's like, Calipari's going to have to get this kid. He's going to have to get through this kid. Because, it's hard. He's 7 foot tall. He's a mammoth. But the kid just, he'll pout. He'll get mad. He gets angry. He's emotional.
I remember Calipari when he did when he got inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame, and he had all of his players, a bunch of his former players from Kentucky and Memphis and UMass all behind him. And he was like, all the guys behind me, raise your hand if you ever thought that my coaching held you back. I know DeMarcus is raising both of his hands right now. He's like, I know DeMarcus is raising both of his hands.
That's funny. So here are the guys, and we have not gotten news yet. These are some interesting names, and I'm going to tell you why in a second. What, have you gotten a name yet? Anybody sign?
No.
Hey, shout out to Mountain Dew.
I just saw from the Arizona Republic, 2 Suns players have tested positive.
2 Suns players?
And we don't know who they are, but they shut down their voluntary workouts at where they were having them. The players that we know for sure that participated, based on videos the Suns have put out, Mikal Bridges, Ilya Kobo, Frank Kaminsky, Dario Saric, Javon Carter, Aaron Baines, Jalen LeCue, and Cheick Diallo. Those are the ones we know for sure that were participating in those voluntary workouts.
Check
And
Diablo.
Two of those guys.
Diablo. Hope it's not my guy
Check
Javon.
Diallo.
Yeah, I hope it's not
That's my
Javon.
boy, Check Diallo.
You know him?
Yeah, I know him. He know me.
How?
Because when I was rehabbing, getting back, when I had tore I messed my knee up
Yep.
in New Orleans.
Yep.
I had to play him one-on-one to get back.
Could you beat him?
What? He know. I don't want to put the business out there.
I
You know
do.
what's behind closed doors, stay behind closed doors, but with the one-on-one rule.
Could he score on you?
But he know.
Check Diallo.
He know. He know. Trust me. He a power forward too. I'm a guard too, but young guy. I was feeling myself. I was old, on my way out the league. So it was like, come here, yeah. You think you got me, don't you? I saw. And I almost dunked on him one time, but I missed it.
We've got Isaiah Thomas,
Go ahead.
Derek Walton Jr., Alan Crabb, Jamal Crawford, Gerald Green, C.J. Miles, Iman Shumpert, J.R. Smith, Corey Brewer actually just signed with the Kings.
These are what?
Sacramento
free
Kings.
agents?
These guys are available if you want to add them for this stretch run. You know, these last 8 games in the playoffs. And Tony Allen's available too.
Who?
He's on here. Tony Allen.
No, he's not.
Oh, he's not available.
He nowhere near available.
Oh, he's not available.
But listen.
It'd be funny if they named you in here.
No. I might need to put my retired card in. It's somewhere I probably need to sign.
Those are your peers. These guys.
Crab is out the league? Alan Crabb is out the league? No. I can't believe Alan Crabb is out the league, bro. He signed for 80.
I know.
They thought that Brooklyn gave him an 80.
I know. Scoonie Penn is an assistant coach for the Memphis Grizzlies. He is on his way back in town because things are about to get underway. Scoonie, thanks for coming on the show, man.
What's up, y'all? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I'm here. Kelsey Wright Johnson's here. Devin Walker's here. We're all here. All right, so you are headed back in terms of your schedule of things going forward. When do you have to be, quote, at the office and like stuff starts getting going in preparation for Disney World?
Well, I've been back now for about a month. I just went back to Columbus for weekend.
Gotcha.
But the plan is, we're following the protocol. We're allowed to have a certain amount of workouts and do things with certain guys voluntarily. We've been doing for the last month, so that's what's been going on. As of today, guys are mandatory to be back in market. So we'll get going with some more involuntary workouts before they're voluntary come July 1st.
Okay, July 1st is the first time. And in terms of what you know about testing and whatever else, how many times you been tested?
I'll be tested tomorrow, I'll tell you that.
Tomorrow. As soon as you get back, I'm sure.
But I think the way the NBA is going about it, that all the players have to be back in market. I want to say that everyone gets tested every other day.
Oh, wow.
Until we get to Orlando, and then I think it becomes every day. I don't know if the Orlando thing will change, but as far as the every other day, multiple times per week, that's in play with every NBA team for the time being.
We were talking earlier about seeing all these pictures, Scoonie, like James Harden, like on a mountain looking skinny. This weekend, one surfaced of Marc Gasol has lost a ton of weight. Nikola Jokic has lost a ton of weight. You have obviously been in constant communication with a lot of the Grizzlies players. Like, what have guys been doing to stay in shape?
Well, we've tried the best that we could. Our performance staff has done an excellent job orchestrating workouts for guys that they send to them online, that they continue to do. Equipment was sent for the guys. I know a lot of teams in the NBA did the same as we did, sending equipment to guys so they can use it and work out as much as possible. I hope that most guys were encouraged to get out and go run, do something, stay active. But again, we're talking about, a lot of these guys here are multimillionaires. I know a lot of these guys have gyms in their home. We're going to find out here real shortly what guys have taken the last couple months to really work in their bodies and who hasn't. And I'm just hoping that the Grizzlies, we have more have than have not. But I think that the guys that have been here for the last month have been working out voluntarily. They look good. They're doing very well. And I think people will be surprised once the NBA starts up. I think they'll be surprised to see how good a shape guys will be in.
Who do you know is in awesome shape and that, like, we'll look at and we'll be like, oh, wow, you can tell he's changed some?
I would say the Memphis Grizzlies faithful, John Moran. I think he's one guy that, I think you'll look at him and you'll be like, wow, you see his body change a little bit. Whether it's putting on a couple pounds of muscle, just looking really good shape. I think a number of our guys are in that position. They've done a good job staying in shape, work on their body. In the meantime, when we weren't able to do much, guys were getting outside their house, whether they were in their house, working with dumbbells, doing push-ups, things like that. So I think you'll be surprised to see some of the Grizz when we get back, the body transformation that guys have made.
Do you know what kind of equipment they were sent? I'm just fascinated by this kind of stuff. Like, what do NBA players use to get in shape?
Well, weight sets, some guys trampolines, bikes. So a number of things. Work on your cardio, muscle, but also there'll be some things like just real simple stuff as pads and different elastics to work on your body, so your stretching and things like that. So it varies from a number of things that were sent to players to work out with.
What's been your role in all of this the last 2-3 months?
Well, as a coach, our coaching staff, we got together quite a bit. A lot of Zoom meetings. I can't wait till that stuff is over with. I'm tired of Zoom. But it's been a great resource for not only us, but I'm sure everyone across the world has been using it. But just building a relationship with our guys, checking on them, having constant conversation with them when we can on the phone, Zoom meetings, sending guys film to watch, keeping their morale up. But at the same time, as a coach, you want to perfect your craft. We did a lot of film watching, looking at ways that we can get better, watching games in the past, seeing how we can get better individually, but also as a staff.
Yeah, it all happens so fast, and you move from one game to the next game, to the next city, to the next city. When you have had the opportunity to go back and watch so many tapes, what are the biggest things that stood out to you that you thought, okay, we need to correct this, or maybe we're better at this than I thought we were? Like, just given the opportunity, it's almost like the season was over and you were given this opportunity to reflect, even though you are going to continue to play games with the same roster this year.
I think when I watched it, the one thing that stuck out to me was the improvement that we made. We all understand we have a really young team, really inexperienced compared to a lot of teams in the league, but the growth that we made throughout the season was tremendous. And one thing that stuck out as well was the defensive. On the defensive end, we know we had some trials and tribulations, ups and downs, but the effort that we made, a guy like Jaren Jackson, how much he improved from the beginning of the season to the time we stopped on defense, the way he was challenging shots. Just a multiple of guys were just really in tune defensively. And we had a bunch of games where we played some exceptional offensive basketball, and we just hope that we're able to grow on that and continue to build and become better in that as we go along.
It is interesting because you want everybody to stay together and you want them to be, in tune with each other because you are going to come back and play games with the same roster. I can only imagine this has been a extreme test. I mean, you've been on teams your whole life, Scoonie. Now you have these guys. They're all on a team, but everybody goes their own separate ways. So in terms of, I know you say you're sick of Zoom, but with the team and them connecting with each other, did at least some of this highlight that some of these guys, and maybe a lot of them, have a real relationship outside of just, hey, we work together?
No, you can tell right off the bat that our guys have a real relationship. We had our team Zoom meetings. You spend the first 20 minutes of just guys talking about each other, cracking jokes, because, of course, the guys didn't have many haircuts. Everyone growing beards. But you can tell the genuine love that our guys have for one another. And when you have that, I think it showed on the court first and foremost. But to sit back and just watch these guys operate and watch them talk on Zoom, and then also you talk to some of the other guys, they have their text chain where, they talk all the time and they find out what each other's doing. So the love is there with our guys, and it just came out a little bit more when you had to find other ways to communicate, and our guys did that.
Do you feel like there's a lot of added pressure at the end of it, being that when you do come back, you are having like a training camp and practices or whatever, and you've got 8 games. It's almost like a playoffs to make a playoffs that you're walking back into.
Yeah, it's for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think we're going to see this pressure. Not at all. For us, the approach that we'll have is we're just going to go out and have fun. Like, why not enjoy it? You know, we put ourselves in a very good position. You know, with this young team, it's been a fun season. We want to continue it that way, and just go out there and play free. You know, I don't think the pressure lies on us. The pressure lies on a team like the Lakers or the Bucks or the Clippers, the teams that were predicted to get to the finals and talked about to win championships. No one looked at us to be in this position right now, and the fact that we are is a testament to our guys, how well they've worked together, how hard they've worked, and the work that they put in. But at the same time, we've had fun doing it. So let's just continue to have fun, because we all know that this is a game that you love to do. These guys love to play it. The best thing about it is, like, when you played as a kid, you enjoyed it. Well, let's keep that mentality, go out there and play, and have some fun and see where the chips fall.
The biggest accusation that was made throughout the season was Winslow, and we never saw him. He was just about to come back. In your estimation, and now obviously you're going to get to see him, it's a real benefit to, like, get a training camp and get him used to everything. But how do you see him fitting in with what you've got going already?
I think he's a guy that fits in well. He can do a number of things, and the one thing he can do that you can use on any team, he has size, but he plays defense. He's a good defender, and you can never have too many of those type of guys. But his personality is he's a team guy. So when you have a team guy implemented into your team, that won't be a problem. Yeah, there'll be some minor adjustments. He'll have to get used to his role and get to know the other guys as they play. But I think a lot of teams will be going through that, you know, with just the rust. But the fact that all the teams will be starting on the same playing field, I think that's good for us, and it's good for a guy like Justice. We get him acclimated to what we want to do. Hopefully healthy. He'll be fully healthy and ready to go. And I think the Memphis Grizzlies fans will have a good time watching him play ball.
Scoonie, during this last couple of months, everybody, all of us, has gone through extreme bouts of boredom. Just because our life, you can't go anywhere, your lives or whatever. What have you taken up? Have you taken up anything that you didn't do before, or what have you been watching?
Oh, man, I try to watch everything I could. It got to the point to where if you turn on Netflix, and I'm like, well, I've seen all this. And then I go to, HBO to go, and I'm watching these series. Well, that's what I started to watch. A friend of mine put me on to Billions. Yeah. And I watched Billions. That was big time, man. I love Billions was a really good one. But that's what I did. I mainly just had a great time spending. I had a lot of time with my kids. That was good. The fact that I was with my son quite a bit, and we were able to get outside, and whether we'd go run, we'd be in the house working out. The kids would watch TV. That's all I really did. I really didn't pick up anything new. Watched a lot of film, and was bored like everyone else. But at the same time, I had a chance to kind of reflect, because a lot of times you don't. We just moving so fast all the time. You don't have a chance to sit back and really just look at life for what it is. And I think that I was able to do that. Probably a lot of other people did the same as I did.
What do you think the longest time in your life that you would not been in a gym or around a basketball was?
That was it.
No. I'm saying before this, like when you were like what? Like probably what?
Before this?
5 years old, something, right?
Yeah, probably as a kid. Probably when I was little before I started playing. Because my whole career when I was playing ball, when the season was over, I would take maybe a week off, especially when I was younger. Then I was right back at it. As I got a little older, it was 2 weeks. But besides that, it was full go. Even though when I stopped playing, I was still around the game in the gym with my kids coming up, and then I played in little leagues around the city and stuff like that. So even when I had a broken ankle before, I was still in the gym shooting free throws or something. So yeah, I would say possibly 2 weeks. So this year was new for me. I was going crazy. And I'm just happy that we're back on the court, and because basketball is life for me, for real.
How old's the son?
18.
18?
Yep, 18.
So is
I got an 18-year-old, a 17, and 15.
So is he just through? Did he just graduate? Was that his senior year?
Yeah, he's going to prep school. We haven't decided he would go to IMG or Sunrise. He has a lot of Division I offers. So he's continued to work. He was in Memphis with me for a little while. He'll be in Columbus now, so he can train a while before school starts, and we're going to be taking off soon, so he's back in Columbus.
Wow. All right. So he's got big. I mean, obviously, it horrible for any of the kids that were seniors, right? Because their senior year got all screwed up.
Yeah. It was bad for them. A lot of those kids. It's really unfortunate. Missing your graduation and they miss proms and. you figure a lot of kids hurt recruiting-wise and things like that, but, you know, we just try to keep their spirits up, and I think they handle it pretty well.
Can he beat you?
I don't know. He's not listening now, so I could probably say he probably can beat me, but we haven't played. I stopped playing him a little while ago, and he's always saying, come on, Dad, let's play. My thing is, listen, I'm not going to let you hold nothing over my head. Last I recall, I was beating you 11-1. So I want to keep it at that, because that's the last thing I get to hang on to.
This is real wisdom. My son's only 10, so I can destroy him, right? But now when he gets older, just don't play him.
Don't play him. No, when he's about to start taking off, and you play him one last time, and you beat him real good, then after that, just have a bunch of excuses on why you can't play him. Then before you know it, it'll be over with. He'll start badgering you. But at the end of the day, he'll never be able to say, Dad, I beat you one-on-one. So that's the trick.
Is he going to be better than you?
Yeah, he is. He definitely is. Where he's at now in this stage of his career, he has a lot more skills than I do. He's a computer. He's probably not as tough as I am because I think our circumstances were very different. I grew up in the park, playing on a playground in Boston, New York in the summer, and you had to learn different, which he didn't. He grew up in the gym playing with referees all the time. But very skillful, good player. But I don't tell him that. I got to keep him hungry.
Last thing, and it's on a serious note, you've obviously been aware of everything that's been going on in the news for the last several weeks. The NBA players and the Players Association, as well as the NBA, have taken all of the social activism very, very seriously and have put that as a priority. If the NBA is to return to play, that they want to be an agent for change. As you, as part of the league, have taken everything in and seen players react and seen their willingness to participate in activism, and then kind of think about how the NBA can use a stage upon its return, what goes through your head?
Let's do it. You know, what goes through my head is, you know, I know that some players don't want to play. They're talking about, will they interrupt, you know, what's going on now. My argument is the platform that the NBA will have will be a great platform to use. I hope the guys use it to the fullest of their extent. Whenever they get a chance to open their mouth, to mention it, to talk about it. Because it's a serious problem. And me being a black man here, 43 years old, I had a chance to talk to our team about it a little bit. And I've seen a lot. I've seen quite a bit throughout my life, you know, especially growing up where I grew up. And, you know, a lot of stuff gets swept under the rug. You know, that time is past now. We need change. And we're not waiting on change. Change needs to be starts now. And for our guys in the NBA with their platform, every opportunity they get to show it or speak about it, we need to make people aware. We need to educate as much as possible, because without education, a lot of people just don't know. They don't understand. And racism is something that we need to abolish at all, you know, get it out at any cost. So I think the NBA will do its job. The coaches, the NBA as a whole, I think will do a great job.
Last thing, because you talked about being a father, and there are so many that are fathers, and I'm very fascinated by that have young African-American kids that they're having to talk to about everything that has gone on. Probably the most serious conversations you've ever had with your son and your kids. What has that been like over the course of the last month when you've had the conversations with your children about the state of the world right now, what they're seeing with protests going on in all different cities and all manner of countries, and then kind of, I know the way kids are, what they're taking in on social media, et cetera?
Yeah, so for me, this isn't new. I've had these talks with my kids for years now. My son is 18. We've been having these talks since he was probably 10 years old.
Wow.
Reason being is because we live in a nice neighborhood in Columbus, Ohio, and there's very few black people. And I always had to make him aware of what could happen. My kids, we would always sit down and we'd watch films. We'd watch The 13th. We'd watch A Time to Kill. We'd watch Rosewood. I watch these things with my kids for a reason, and after we would stop and have conversations. My kids are very in tune of what's going on. My 15-year-old, she knows what's going on. They post things. They're really for the cause. They want to speak out. They want to do more. It's just something that I've always felt deeply about, and I've always known what America has been. So it wasn't because of this incident that I need to start talking to my kid about it. And I think a lot of my friends and other black people that I know, these conversations have been going on for a very long time, and they need to continue to go on. But it's sad to say that I had to speak to my 10-year-old about walking down the street, make sure he present himself a certain way, even to the fact that I told him when at a certain time he was never allowed to walk down the street with him and 3 of his other black friends in the neighborhood. I just didn't want that. I was because of what it may look like, that there's 4 black kids walking in a pretty nice neighborhood at night, whether they were going to a friend's house or each other's house or whatever. I was like, no, I'll take you. We're not going to try to walk to the store or something. I'll give you a ride. Just because of incidents that happened in the past, like the Trayvon Martin one. And the kids know about it. He knows about it. My kids know about it very well. And you try your best as a parent to avoid these, because the worst thing ever happens is you imagine something like that happens to your kid. How do you live with yourself after that as a parent? It's tough.
And so when you say you've been talking about this for so long with them, I don't know how you feel, Scoonie, but I know that the older generation always thinks less of the next generation, right? But I have been so wildly impressed with young people throughout this entire thing.
Yes.
And I really do.
Oh, my goodness.
I really do think that they are going to be extreme agents for change going forward, because they don't, the farther you get separated from people that had hate in their hearts, it's such a foreign thing to them, and so that outrage that they feel is so real because they don't,
Yes.
right? And I do think they use these platforms, and they're just so much more cognizant of what's going on than I was when I was a kid, for sure.
I'm so impressed with this generation. This generation of teenagers to the ones in their 20s in college, the early 20s, they are remarkable. You're not going to gag them. They're going to use their voice. They're going to use their influence. They're going to use their social media handles to go about their business, to go about change. It is very encouraging. And like you said, it's going to be this young generation. They're our future. I think they can change the world, and they're doing a good job with it right now because they've grown up different. Even more so now than it was when I was a kid, probably you was a kid. It's more of a melting pot, even more so. So these kids see a little bit different now. They can look on their handheld device, and they see all kind of ethnicities, nationalities.
Yep.
They understand. They see the hip-hop music that is dominated by black people. So you learn a little bit more about people that don't look like you from a younger age now. So these kids have grown up different, and I just love their fight. And I just want them to continue pushing until change has come. And then when it comes, just continue to push and change more things.
And even beyond that, I mean, hell, you can go and be around a bunch of 20-year-olds at Grizzlies practice half the time, because I can't. There's some times where I think about what I was like at 19 and 20, and like it hits me, like somebody reminds me that John Morant or Jaren Jackson or whatever their age is, and I'm like, I can't believe being thrown into adulthood and how they handle everything at the age they do. It is insane. I was so much more immature. I could have never handled what they handle.
Yeah, it's tough. People don't understand that. You just look at, a lot of times the athletes, they look at what's going on in the court or the field or whatever the case may be, not realizing these are kids.
Yep.
These are still very young kids, and they should be in college. They should be in college going to college parties, but they're not. They're being held to another standard because of their athletic ability, and that's okay. People want to talk about the money. Yeah, that's one thing. But all the scrutiny they get and the pressure that they have, it's tremendous. But I think they're very mature and they handle it very well.
They really do. Scoonie Penn, he's the assistant for the Memphis Grizzlies. I can't wait to see you guys back in action again. Thanks for coming on today, Scoonie.
All right, you guys, take care.
My man. Joining us now, he wrote an article about the Grizzlies, and it was in the context of a prospects list, future rankings, and the Grizzlies came in third behind only two teams. He is Sam Vecenie from The Athletic. What's up, Sam? Thanks for coming on, man.
Verno, what's going on?
Third? Really?
Third.
Third?
I couldn't do any better for you. I'm sorry.
I
thought
know.
about number 2. I thought about putting you on there and giving it to you for number 2.
Hey, I'll tell you this though. Honestly, when I was reading through, because it's the Pelicans and the Celtics that are ahead, it is startling how young Jason Tatum still is. And right before this season got put on hold, he had like morphed into superstar being doubled near half court by the Lakers on that Sunday ABC game and averaging 30 points a game. And I think you rightfully said you were already convinced he's going to end up being the best player on a team that could be a title contender. And then there are a lot of, like, who knows? I mean, we would love to think that Ja can and Zion can and whoever, but Tatum's way further along in that process, it seems.
Yeah, Jason Tatum turned into a joke by the end of the year, man. Like, that guy was just so ridiculous. He averaged, like, I think it was like 27, 7, and 3 from January 11th onward. It was like him and Kawhi Leonard and Chris Middleton were like the best pull-up shooting wings in the entire NBA from like the entire season onward, because he took as many, or he made more pull-up three-pointers from January 11th onward than anyone else other than I think it was like Damian Lillard and Kemba Walker or something
Holy
like that.
mackerel.
It was just like, this guy has turned into a total joke of an offensive player. Oh yeah, and he's like the best defensive wing, one of the 5 best defensive wings in the NBA. It's an absolute joke what he is. But you know what? I think that Memphis fans should be really happy with John Morant and Jaren Jackson. I mean, that write-up that I did was the most fun I had writing one of those. Like, I did one for all 30 teams, and I just found myself like continuing to watch Grizzlies games. I was like, I think I watched like 10 or 12 of them. So I was just like, oh my God, I need to keep watching these guys. I need to keep just seeing more because they're so much fun.
Okay, so when you were going through, obviously, look, we've all got a lot of time on our hands. What kind of games did you want to pick out? Did you pick out exclusively wins that you're trying to watch? Do you try to, break it up? When you're trying to get a grasp on these guys, did you take 5 wins and 5 losses? Or did you, like, scout out the games and look at the box scores and say, all right, I want to see how this one happened?
Yeah, with every team, it's different for sure. In the case of the Grizzlies, like, I watched a game before their they started to get really good in December, right? Mm-hmm. Like, December 10th, somewhere around there is when they started to actually figure out how to play with Taylor Jenkins, and Taylor started putting them in overdrive with the way that he pushed the ball. So I started right around, I would say, December for most of the games. I mean, I watched a few losses, don't get me wrong. A lot of them were wins because, even though they're 32 and 33, I wanted to see what a good Memphis team looks like with this group. So, yeah, I probably watched more wins than losses when it came to Memphis, and it might have clouded my judgment a little bit. But I just kept finding myself wanting to watch more Grizzlies basketball, which, to be honest, like the last few years, like since the prime of the grit and grind era, right? Like, I haven't been doing that as much. Like, I haven't really.
Neither has anybody else.
Yeah, like even last year, they were 30th in pace of play. Right? Like, they were still really slow, even though the grit and grind era had theoretically ended. So I was excited to watch a team just put it in overdrive, and between Ja and even like DeAnthony Melton and Tyus Jones, those guys really pushed the ball, right?
Well, it's
crazy
reading your article, what you drew just from the games you watch, and obviously you went and looked at the numbers of some of these guys, but you drew conclusions that I was super impressed about, because as we've watched it and we've kept up with it all year long. Like, when you talk about that mid-December, it also falls in line. Like, Ja comes back from an injury then, and it also almost perfectly lines up with when DeAnthony Melton got in the lineup. There were a couple of different injuries, and you even cite, that the numbers don't say everything with Melton. I'm actually going to go back to the best prospects and start with him, because I thought it was fascinating that you liked him coming into the draft. You had him ranked as a first-round pick. He was just a throw-in, really. Not a throw-in. Like, Josh Jackson was the throw-in. But
yeah, I was going to say, I felt like they were trying to get DeAnthony.
Yeah, they were trying to get him, but it wasn't like a major move by any means, okay? And he ended up becoming a major contributor to their success this year. And you kind of rightfully wrote, it's not the numbers and like the advanced numbers are all great with him, right? But if you can, just speak to what you saw with Melton, and then I want to get into, you mentioned his upcoming free agency, and obviously I want like hell to keep him, but we'll get to that in a moment. Tell me about what you think about Melton, and then we'll go into the free agency stuff.
So, yeah, I mean, if we want to put numbers on it, like we just have to look, beyond the box score, like surface level, right? So when DeAnthony was on the court, the Grizzlies averaged something like 114 points per 100 possessions. When he was off the court, they averaged 108. When he was on the court defensively, they gave up like 107.4 points per possession or points per 100 possessions. And when he was off the floor, they gave up 112.1. The difference there is like 10 points per 100 possessions. And part of that is noisy because, Ja was out early in the season and they hadn't really figured out how to play when he wasn't in the rotation early in the season. But like that 10-point differential per 100 possessions, that's like star quality numbers. That's not like, like a really good role player. That's like ridiculous. And I don't think DeAnthony's a star. Like, don't get me wrong when I say that. But I think that what he did was, he is a big piece of why the team went into overdrive, right? Like he is a big piece, along with Ja Morant, of why they can play at the tempo that they do. He and Ja are both really good rebounders, and they can both just grab and go. They can both play at full speed more often than other players can play at full speed because both of them are just basketball geniuses, right? And then defensively, he's a perfect fit next to Ja because Ja is struggling defensively. Like he's just small and is still trying to figure out how to navigate screens. He's still trying to figure out where he needs to be in rotation. Like it's normal rookie stuff, right? Like that's not a big deal, but having DeAnthony out there, who is a difference maker, who can take on tough assignments at the 1 or the 2, gives them versatility in how they can handle Ja. Now, all of that sounds like I think that they should like break the bank to keep him in free agency. I don't know if I'm there on that, to be honest. Like if a team like Atlanta, who I think needs DeAnthony like even more than Memphis does, because he fits like across the board as a partner next to Trae Young, and they already have their like two-way wings that they need. Like he just kind of fits everything that they need. And if I was them, I would be legit like breaking the bank to sign DeAnthony Melton. Like if I was Memphis, I'm probably not going higher than like 4 years, like 48 million. Something like that, because at the end of the day, like DeAnthony Melton is probably going to be like a 6th-man bench player for this team.
Explain to me this Arenas rule,
right?
Because you mentioned that in the context of that, and it's an element that we do need to include in the conversation that is different about him than it would be just a normal player, because he was a second-round pick. There are different stipulations on what he can get paid, right?
Yeah, so if you hit restricted free agency within your first 2 years or after your first 2 years in the NBA, I believe it is, you're subject to what's called the Gilbert Arenas rule. Like essentially the Wizards stole Gilbert Arenas from, if I remember correctly, the Golden State Warriors back in the day. And they had to like change the rules in terms of what these second round picks can get. Basically, a team can only offer DeAnthony Melton up to the mid-level exception for his first 2 years. That number will be something like $9.8 million, something
Maybe.
Like that in the first year.
It might go down, right? It might go down.
Could go down, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And then he'll be able to get a 7.5% raise on that number if it's Memphis, or a 5% raise if it's another team in the second year. But then what these other players can do, or what these other teams can do, is they can offer him an enormous jump in salary. Like they can go far above and beyond the typical 5% raise that a player can typically get going from a second to third year of a contract. They can jump him up to like 17 million. It's the Tyler Johnson thing, right? Like when Miami had to re-sign Tyler Johnson because he got that ridiculous offer sheet from Brooklyn, Tyler Johnson was making $17 million a year. Like it wouldn't stun me if a team goes, okay, we're willing to give DeAnthony Melton $17 million in the third and fourth year of this deal. We'll hope that the salary cap jumps and that like coronavirus is a thing of the past in, what would that be, 2013 or 2023? And, give DeAnthony, like, what would that be? That'd be 4 years, $56 million or something like that. Like, if someone did that, especially Atlanta, because I think Atlanta makes the most sense because they have cap space and they really need them, I wouldn't be totally stunned about that.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is going to be good because you get to view this from the outside looking in, and I may just be too close to it, and I know the kids, especially Melton and whatever.
Oh, like elite level human being.
No, but sure. I would rather keep him than Brooks. I would. With this team and that fit, Brooks. I would. And Brooks, they signed him to that deal, but they've got him. I mean, it's a tradable deal. You know what I'm saying? I'm just talking about the way. Right. And you signed Winslow. Right? So, like, how many – I don't know. Like, how many shots do I need? I kind of feel like it might turn into a little what we talk about around here is a Rudy Gay thing, right? Where it's like where it's like Rudy Gay, yes, he was individually very good, like Dylan is, but when you took those shots away and replaced him with Tayshaun Prince, those shots just went to Mike Conley and Marc Gasol. And that's kind of how I feel. It's not like those shots are going to be going to DeAnthony Melton. They're going to go more Ja, more Jaren, more Winslow. You know what I'm saying? And you got to have some role players. And I don't know. I still think Dylan thinks he can be Kobe.
Yeah, I think that's true.
It's honestly what makes him good, though. I was
going to say, like, he needs that mentality. That's what, like, drives him. And he's always been like that. Like, even going back to Oregon, like, he's always been that guy. This is a guy that, like, Coach K had to yell at in a handshake line because he was showing Duke up against the Grayson Allen. I think it was like the Grayson Allen, Brandon Ingram team. It was amazing. I was courtside for it and was losing my mind, loving him, showing up Coach K. But it's hard because Dylan has already shown that he can take on really tough wing defensive assignments in a way that I think DeAnthony's probably a little bit too small to take on. I also think that this team has like a pretty desperate need for shooting from the wing in a That's way fair. That we can talk about DeAnthony being great. And, like you said, like you're an enormous DeAnthony fan. I'm an enormous DeAnthony fan. I don't see him becoming like a 37% three-point shooter at some point. Like I think he's going to be scratching to get to 35 and, there are going to be years where he's probably a little bit lower than that. Right. I mean, he's a hard worker. Maybe we get beyond that stage because he is just an incredible worker, but I don't know, man. I kind of think Dylan is the more necessary player on this team, even if I think they're like basically in the same tier of player. You know what I mean?
That's fair. All right, let me get to Jaren Jackson Jr. first because you're a huge fan. You've always been a huge fan. And some of these stats, like you had one stat in there, 39.7% on over 6 attempts. There's only 4 guys that have ever done that in their first 2 seasons. Kyle Korver, Vashawn Leonard, Duncan Robinson, coincidentally this year, and Klay Thompson. I mean, these are like some of the best shooters ever. And certainly I don't think the outside world considers Jaren Jackson to be one of the greatest shooters in the world, but the numbers are the numbers. And so when you went back, and he's younger than Ja, but because Ja has been so amazing, it's kind of overshadowed, I think, certainly on a national level, how good Jaren is. When you went back and watched, what'd you think watching year 2 of Jaren Jackson?
So the ridiculous thing with Jaren is not that he makes 39.7% of his threes. It's the way that he gets his 3-pointers. His footwork is outstanding. Just the way that he can navigate screens off ball. Like you can run Jaren Jackson off of pin down screens. You can run flare screens with like they run this nice set where they'll get into like a horn set. They'll entry the ball into Jaren at the elbow. Ja will take it back, on a dribble handoff. And then Jaren will shoot to the opposite side of the floor off of a flare screen from Jonas Valanciunas and just set his feet quick and fire. And he has that like weird looking quick release that just most centers can't react to and can't guard. His ability and dexterity to run off of screens for being 6'11" is not normal. Like it is unlike really anything. Like Karl Anthony Towns is considered like one of the best young 3-point shooters in NBA history. Like Karl is mainly getting his threes off of pick and pops and spot ups. Like he can't run off of screens like Jaren can. Now, where I am a little bit more worried about Jaren than I thought I would be is defensively. Jaren is kind of I don't want to say he's a mess on defense because I think that would be strong, but I do think that Jaren has some real issues to work out on defense, particularly in regard to defensive rebounding. He's long been a poor defensive rebounder, and fouling is obviously an issue for him, but I think that even more than the physical act of fouling and fouling being a problem, I think the fouling like works to take him out of rhythm a little bit and makes the gears turn in his brain as he's reacting a little bit more, as opposed to just being a reactive defender, right? Yeah. Like he's a little bit handsy, and that's something he can improve. But I think that the impact of his fouling is not necessarily the fouls. It's the way that the fouling filters through to the possessions where he doesn't foul, because I think he's just like a little bit worried about how he has to do his, how he has to go about
catch another foul. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Last question, Sam. Okay. Who stood out to you the most? Because I'm not going to be able to go through every player. I loved the Brandon Clark, New Age Kenyon Martin comp. I like that you like Conchar. But when you watch those Grizzlies games, is there anybody that particularly stood out to you that you did not expect, or stood out more to you than you expected when you go in to watch and break down the games? And then the second part is Morant and what you see for a ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, I love John Morant. I think he's going to lead the NBA in assists at some point. He's going to average 20 points. Like, John Morant is going to be a top 5 point guard in the NBA for a long time. Like, it's funny that, like, we're just talking about him now, but, like, part of it is because, like, it's just really easy. Yeah. Right? Like, everything he's done so far.
It's understood. He's right. Yeah. That he's awesome.
He's unbelievable. Like, rookie point guards don't lead teams to the playoffs, period. 20-year-old rookie point guards certainly don't lead teams to the playoffs. John Morant is ridiculous. It's kind of an easy evaluation. Like, we can just move on, right? I was surprised. It's not that I was surprised that Josh Jackson was good. Like, I'd been paying attention to him in the G League this year and knew that, you know, he was obviously the most talented player in the G League and really performed at an exceptionally high level. I liked that they kind of used him as a new age 4 when he got up to Memphis. Like, they played him as like a combo forward a little bit more often than what I thought they would, which I really liked. And I think he fits perfectly stylistically with the way that this Memphis team wants to play, because they want to induce havoc, right? They want to induce as much chaos as they can. And I mean, Josh Jackson is chaos. Like, the off the floor stuff we can avoid, but even on the court, that man is chaos.
Would you keep him?
Because he just wants to run around and make things happen, right?
Yeah. Would you keep him? He's a free agent too.
It would depend on the number.
Gotcha.
It would depend on the number, I think. If it's 3 years, third-year team option, $15 million, yeah. If a team wants to give him, like, 4 years, $28 million because they see some upside, I'm comfortable letting him go, because, like, he had a great year. He did what he was supposed to do this year in the G League. He stayed out of trouble. I mean, it's hard for me to get past, what happened in Phoenix and like at Kansas too. Like, I mean, he got in trouble at Kansas, I think, for kicking a woman's car that was like, I think it was like LeGerald Vick's girlfriend or something like that, and like threatened her and stuff. So like, yeah, I mean, all 4 second chances. I think that he still has a long way to go, though, to prove that he can be a reliable person off the court.
Totally fair. He is Sam Vecenie from The Athletic. As I've told you before, the reason I signed up for The Athletic was your draft stuff. And now I'll get to read your draft stuff leading up to, I guess, the October draft.
That's true. We've got 4 months.
Unbelievable. I can't wait. Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Chris.
All
Talk
right,
to you
buddy.
soon.
Sam Vecenie from The Athletic joining us on the show. Certainly appreciate him popping on with us.
This has been the best of the Chris Vernon Show, presented by Direct Auto Insurance. Tune in to the live show daily at noon or on demand by heading over to grindcitymedia.com or Grind City Media on YouTube.